I'm trying to hope you to make sure that you don't get sick, or if you do, it's for a very, very, very short period of time. And so we want to welcome you to this midweek worship. We want to welcome you to this moment in the Word. We want to welcome you to the challenge that is always set before us as we continue to grow in the knowledge of God's Word. God's Word never goes without a challenge. Never. It always presents itself with good news, then it's some news, then it could be bad news, but it's important news. And I think we need to we need to grasp that. We need to understand that. We need to allow the word of the Lord to develop us into the persons that God would have us to be. So, with that being said, we welcome each and every one of you to be with us on today. And do what you know to do. Do what you know to do. Share. Hit that share button, whether you are on Facebook or whether you are on YouTube. If you hit that share button, it will be absolutely fantastic. Because here's what happens. Here's what will happen. You will be able to share the word of the Lord with other people who may need it more than you actually know. And I think this is so relevant and important for us to get to grasp, to understand that. And I just found this out, not too long ago. Matter of fact, as early as last night, that there are so many people who are dependent upon some level of encouragement, a word that will allow them to reach past their present situations and circumstances and to be energized and developed in the things of God. And so, with that being said, we want to welcome those of you who are here. It looks like my page is not coming up, but that's okay. No big deal. I'll check it out and see what in the world is going on. So we'll just go from there. So, for those of you who are on YouTube, we are grateful to God for you being here with us. I'm trying to look to see if I'm missing something, if I didn't put something in here. Ah, here we go. Got it. Got to do this. There's an error. And so now add integration. Do this. Continue. And hopefully and prayerfully, this has resolved that situation. There we go. So, prayerfully, we are now where we should be, and we are prayerfully operating the way that we should be operating. And so, we're just thankful to God for, every now and then things happen, every now and then things go crazy, every now and then it is what it is. And so, let me take a look here and see if anything got better. Um, I see that Union's page is running just wonderfully. Um, I see this. I see that, but I don't see mines. So if you would just give me a second, I'm going to go in and see what I can do about that, and then I'll be back because I want to make sure that we have everybody else online, ret to roll. Okay. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And again, delay is not denial. And I just want to make sure that I've got this and that I got everything operating like it should. If not, I'm going to go with what I got. And I don't see my page running still. So give me a second here to go back over something. There always seems to be an issue with um, there always seems to be an issue with Facebook lately. I don't know what the problem is. I don't understand why there is always something. Okay, error needs permission. to time link. I did that. It should let me do it. Add integration. Should do this. I am always amazed. Absolutely. Oh, it says successful. So let me do one other thing and see if it has allowed my page to come up. I know I got haters. There's much haterade out there right now, and so I'm okay with that. I don't have a. I still don't see my page running. So I'm gonna try one more thing. Um, I'm gonna do this. Then I'm gonna do this. Then I'm gonna do this. And linked Facebook account. It says it's linked. It says it should be running, and it's still not. There's always another way. I want you to know that there's always another way to be able to do this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to another page. I'm going to go to Union's page. I'm going to go where Union is running, and then I'm going to share it to my page. And let's see what happens. Let's see how it works. Let's see if this comes up and does exactly what I need it to do. God is still a good God. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Now let me do this. I don't want to do that. I want to go here. And I don't want to do that. I want to go here. And it's not going to let me do it. So guess what we're going to do? We're just going to tell everybody to go to Union's page, and then I'm not going to really concern myself about it. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I realize that the word of the Lord is still going to go forth one way or the other. It just won't be on my page. So I'm going to put a thing out here. I'm going to tell everybody to just go to, um, it's talking about a permission error. Log in as, yes, I am. And I don't have time for this. I will deal with this later because I have other things to do. So here's what I need somebody to do. Can you please put on, I'll just put it on my page. Never mind. Y'all will give me a couple of minutes, and I appreciate that. Um, go to Union's Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so I just posted that for people who are looking for me, and I appreciate the fact that you were looking, and we'll just go from there. I'm just going to remove this. I'm not going to worry about anything else because I have things that I need to do. So let me say good evening to those of you. Jemison, I see you. Rhonda Fletcher, good to have you here. Smile, Kathy, Barbara, bless you for being here. Sylvia Scott, Cora, thank y'all so much for being here. Let me go to this page so I can catch y'all. Linda, Minister Sarah, Sharon, Denise, Minister Faye, Gaither, Carletta, Nancy, Cora, I see you. Ella May, Gaither. I have sound, but it's a little low. Okay, Ethel, Sister Thomas, Yes, it won't let me. It doesn't like me. Lady Harrison, Barbara Foos, Lady Harrison, Cecile, Gwen, Lily. Thank y'all so much for being here. Because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna take any more time to try to figure out what they're talking about me needing permission. So, Nisi, if you could do me a favor and tell Nettie to tell everybody to come to Union's page. I just put it out there, but just to make sure that they know what's going on. Goalie, thank you so much for being here. Stephanie, good to have you, one and all. So we're on Union's YouTube page and Union's uh, Facebook page, and that's where we're going to be for right now. Bless his holy and righteous name. And we're on the website. And so for that, I am grateful to God. I need to ask a couple of questions. The questions I think are pertinent. I think they're relevant. I think it's overwhelmingly important. Thea, how are you? Um, Daryl Johnson, bless you for being here. And I need to ask you because as at first, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to say it, and I wasn't going to. And I got so pressed in my spirit about it. I said, let me just go ahead and just ask these questions because I think these questions are important and I think they're relevant. I think they're powerful. And every now and then we need to find ourselves in a position where our thought patterns and our processes in the kingdom needs to be understood and challenged. And that's kind of where I'm at with this right now. And I think we need to ask these questions so that we can be what God would have us to be. So I hope you're ready for this because it might get a little dicey, it might get a little deep, it might get a little interpersonal. But in the midst of everything that it gets into, it may get into your thought processes so that you can understand more clearly what God really wants to do. Here's the first question. How many of you like to lose? How many of you enjoy being losers? How many of you enjoy finding out that maybe they just banned TikTok. That might be the problem. Who know? But they're not banning the other pages. They just messing with mines because it's still coming back with that error. But listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying because I think this is important. This must be understood and it must be grasped. Do you like losing? Do you enjoy losing? Do you enjoy unsuccessful moments? Do you enjoy being miserable and been out of shape and tore up and all it is it fun? Is it fun when you plan to do something and the next thing you know everything falls apart? How does it make you feel? What does it do to your self-worth or your self-esteem? How does it how does it seem that there are moments in your life when maybe if you would, Giovanni, good evening, how are to you? Maybe if you would have thought through some things a little bit better, maybe things would be a little bit better. Do I have anybody that's catching where I'm coming from and what I'm saying? Because I think this is important for us to get to recognize and to understand. We got to wrap our minds around the fact that maybe because we haven't paid that much attention, and I talked about this during the day. Maybe we haven't paid that much attention to failure or failings or missteps or mistakes that we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. I want us to look because I got another question. I got another question. I think it needs to be understood in it, and we need to wrap our minds around this. And I think this is Elder James. Thank you so much for being here. How many of you plan to lose? How many of you plan to lose? How many of you say, I'm not going to pay any attention to life's lessons. I'm not going to pay any attention to what I see other people doing and how they are living. I'm not going to pay any attention to the good, the bad, the ugly, because the problem with many of us is we always look for the good. We always look for the great. We always look for the established accomplishments. But what many of us don't understand is our greatest moments of success doesn't come from success. Lord have mercy. Help me to teach this like you gave it to me. I need us to understand this because on many occasions, my greatest moments of understanding, of readjusting, of reevaluating, and resetting have been through the fact that I have seen and observed the missteps not only of me, but the missteps that I've seen other people make. When I observe somebody, when I see what is happening in the lives of other people, when I watch behavior, when I watch the things that are going on in other people's lives, I pay a lot of attention to their successes, but I also pay attention to their failures. Failures from time to time are your greatest teacher. And I know this is going to be kind of deep. And somebody is saying, well, where in the world is that in here? Well, I said this morning, and I need us to recognize that wisdom comes when we learn from mistakes. Christine Anderson, bless you for being here. You plan to win, goalie? Wisdom comes when we learn from mistakes. Wisdom sprouts up when we learn from mistakes. And I got another question for you. And I'm going to deal with these in just a second because I'm looking at Nehemiah chapters 2 through chapters 4. And that's really important for us to see. Have there been moments in your life because you're going through those moments of stress and strain? Can you encourage somebody even when you need encouragement? Woo, 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 woo. This is going to be a deep one tonight, y'all. It's going to be a deep one tonight. And I warned you ahead of time that it was going to be just that. Do you know how to encourage even when you need encouragement? Let me talk about this. We're talking about Nehemiah. We're talking about how powerful this gentleman is. We're talking about his capabilities and what God has given him in order for him to accomplish what he is accomplishing. And so, who encourages Nehemiah? Who is it that when Nehemiah sees the situation and he sees the destruction and he sees the devastation and he sees what's taking place, who's talking to Nehemiah? Because he's got a job to do. And the job that he has to do is among disillusioned people. I want you to think about this. If you read chapters 2 through 4, you will see something very powerful because these people are dejected, they're humiliated, they have no hope. The walls and walls, okay, I hear you, goalie. Walls around Jerusalem were designed to protect Jerusalem from invaders. But now that protection is gone. And because that protection is gone, Nehemiah has to do what Ezra could not. Y'all remember what I talked about? Ezra tried and failed, and the reason he did that was because the Persian overlords came and brought all kind of devastation, and everything came to an end. And so, as I shared with you in previous lessons, you also got to recognize that you got to learn from the mistakes. And I talked about this a little bit this morning because how many of us watch people that don't learn from mistakes? How many of us observe people who don't learn from mistakes? How many of us see other people doing things and the reason they keep doing them is because they don't recognize that what they are doing is not succeeding but failing? And I understand failure is traumatic. I understand failure is traumatizing. I understand all of that. But you got to tell the truth. Was it a failed marriage? Was it a failed relationship? Was it a failed job? What was it? Okay? That taught you how to persevere and not make the same mistakes. Okay? And so in the midst of this, we see that Nehemiah becomes the encourager to people who have no courage whatsoever. Nehemiah was powerful, charismatic, determined. But here's something that you got to remember about Nehemiah: he trusted God. And when you trust God, no obstacle is too big for the God you trust. Well, now let's look at something, because I think this is important. Again, dealing with chapters 2 through 4. Well, the word gets back to the Persians that these walls are going up. And you have to really look at this, because the one chapter, I believe, starts with chapter 3. It goes into chapter 4. It's fascinating. The reason it is because families came together. Why do you think Satan wants to destroy families? Families came together and did the work of bringing the walls back together and hanging the gates, and all of these things were happening. Whatever you got to remember, if you're going to be strategic in doing anything for the Lord, you also have to understand that the enemy is also strategic. That's the reason why when somebody haphazardly does, let me use this as an example. Y'all ready? If you want to build a building, do you just go out and dig a hole, lay bricks, and nail wood together, or do you sit back and plan the requirements to make sure that the house building process is successful? There are steps that you have to recognize. First of all, you have to understand the ground that you want to build on. You have to understand if there may be a necessity of fortifying foundations and different things depending upon what the soil is like, because Jesus is very clear on that. He says, now, if you build on sand, you're going to be in trouble, because sooner or later a storm is going to come. And when it comes, the great fall will be of that house. But if you build on a rock, if you build on a foundation that is sure, storms will come, issues will rise, pain will show up, but you won't be destroyed. Lord, I wish I had somebody that's catching where I'm coming from. And so the thing was, Sanballat and Tobiah began something, and this is something that many of us don't survive well, is being lied to or lied about. Many of us can't handle that, because when folk lie to us and lie on us, the first thing we want to do is retaliate. And don't get me wrong, that is the normal human reaction. And so they said, look at that mess. They don't know nothing about building walls. A fox will come along and his tail will touch it, and the walls will fall apart. Well, that didn't work. And so then what happened was they started lying on Nehemiah. They started lying on what he was doing and lying what he was all about. And Nehemiah understood clearly that his work was not predicated upon their opinion. Lord, if I don't never teach again, I pray I'm teaching now. Too many of us want that a boys. Too many of us want that a girl. Too many of us want accolades instead of being solid in the call in your life. Now, when I talk about call, I'm not talking about to preach. I'm talking about every single redeemed person has a call on their life. Every single person who has God's name in their life has a call. And our problem is, Cheryl, we look for the calls to be spectacular, but the greatest moves of God are not always in a crowd, but a one-to-one situation. The most powerful moments in Jesus's ministry was not when he was feeding 5,000 people, but when he was sitting at the well, when he was doing this, when he was doing that. Those were the most impactful moments in his ministry. And I talked about this a few weeks ago. Because everybody wants a crowd, but everybody in the crowd is not for you or with you or believes in you. But when you do them one-on-one encounters, when he talked to that woman at the well, she went back home and changed her whole neighborhood, her whole family. When the Gadarian came up to him and Jesus had a one-on-one with him, guess what he did? He went back in his right mind and became a testimony. Y'all remember when he touched the lives of different people, blind Bartimaeus and all of those people, even the centurion that asked for his daughter to be made whole. Those were one-on-one encounters, Victor. And in the midst of that, Lord, I wish I had two people. In the midst of that, their ministry was substantiated. Because what? Because that one-on-one encounter. And see, we need to get past, okay? Good, Valerie. Tell Dad we said hello. We're glad that slowly but surely he's progressing. Listen to what I'm saying. My greatest moments of ministry are sit-down moments. My greatest moments of ministry are one-to-one encounters. My greatest moments of ministry is to be able to encourage somebody even when I need it myself. The greatest moments of ministry is to see the light go off in somebody's life. I'm going to tell the story again. I'm going to tell the story again. I ain't going to tell the whole story because a whole lot of y'all will know who she is. At the Action Banquet last night, I'm going around there. People come up to me and they say, thank you. And I was like, well, what did I do? Thank you for your snapshot. Thank you for your midweek. We watch you on Sunday mornings. I said, oh, okay, well, thank you. Now, first thing to come to me, don't get me in trouble with your pastor. You busy watching me more than them. And I'm going to tell you something that somebody said, and I'm not giving you no names or anything else like that. But they told me, they said the ministry that I had of prayer and word encouraged her until her husband got well, and it took months for it to happen. Did you hear what I said? You didn't hear what I said. That for me was a shining moment of ministry. That for me meant more to me than 45 to 100 people coming up to me and say, Pastor, that was a great sermon. No, it was the unbeknownst. It was behind the scene. It was the unnoticed moments of ministry that I would never know anything about until they come up to share it with me. I went to funeral down at Mason's funeral home, and a lady walked up to me and said, I'm so and so. I follow you online. I'm such and such. I follow you online. Thank you. I went to another event. Thank you. You don't know how much what you do does for us. And so in the midst of this, you got to see that when you begin to do what God would have you to do, that's why Facebook won't let my page run. Because he wants to discourage people, because people, when they don't see me, they don't watch. But here's what you got to understand. Delay is not denial. I know I asked you to do it before. I know I did. I know I did. I know I did. But can you please put in the chat one more time? Delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. And too many of us, when we get in the midst of the delay, we believe we've been denied. And I've said this to you on many other occasions. You don't know what God is doing behind the scene. You don't know whose life God is touching while he's preparing you for what is yet to come. Well, let's go back to Nehemiah. Well, Nehemiah did all of this. We see that the opposition has lost its mind. We see that very clearly, again, chapters 2 through 4, that they're doing everything in their power to keep the walls from being built and to not allow the Jewish people to reign. You got to remember something, and you might not like it when I say it. Some of your friends don't want you to succeed. Some of your friends don't want you to excel. Some of your friends don't want you to overcome because if you do, you will outshine them. It's not that you intentionally want to shine, it's the fact that your heart is toward people where their heart is toward themselves. I'm going to borrow this from Dr. Donald Jones. Can I get a witness? I think this is important for us to get. We got to understand it. We got to wrap our minds around it. If we are going to do impactful ministry, if we are going to touch the lives of a ton of people, if we're going to do this, it's because families have gathered together and have bonded together. And so let's talk about this for just a minute. Are y'all still with me? I just want to make sure you're still with me. Are you still with me? This is important. Sanballat and Tobiah and the adversaries were doing everything in the midst of their power because here's the next thing that they wanted to do is they wanted to kill the leader. I wish I had somebody that caught that. They wanted to kill the leader because Nehemiah is a man of prayer. Nehemiah is a man of fasting. Nehemiah is a man of observation. Nehemiah is a person who knows how to encourage people even when he needs encouragement. So the question is, do you know how to encourage somebody when you need it yourself? There's one other thing that I think we need to look at because now, Myrna, the threat has come. Since we can't intimidate you, we're going to threaten you, and we're going to threaten you with assault. The word got back that the enemies had decided that they were going to come after the people who were working and kill them. They wanted Nehemiah dead, and they wanted the workers dead. Now, I'm going to say something, and it's going to be overwhelmingly controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think too many of us don't understand how to strategically win. How do you think some of these basketball teams and football teams and baseball teams and soccer teams and hockey and all of the how do you think they win? Do you think the coach tells them to just go on out there and get on the field and let's see what happens? The coach says, "Oh, we're not going to worry about learning any plays or anything. Just get out there and do your best." Or do they strategically put together a plan for success? Y'all ready for this? Are you ready? I want to know if you're ready for this. You have to learn how to study your opposition. They sit back after the game is over, win or lose, and they watch the replay of the game, and they point out, here's a weakness, here's a strength, here's this, here's that. Here, the next time that we play them, this is what we need to do to overcome this. Are y'all hearing me? The problem is the world and sports knows how to strategically plan, but the people of God many times have no plan. They got some inspiration, they got a little illumination, they got a little something, something, something. But the problem is the something, something don't have a plan. When you look at Nehemiah, he strategically, step by step, put together a plan. Well, for those of you that are the faint of heart and you just feel like God should just do all kinds of stuff in your life, it will never ever come without opposition. Now, here's the funny thing about the opposition: the worst opposition was not from the outside, the worst opposition were from leaders on the inside. Can I tell y'all something? Can I tell? Can I tell y'all something? The one thing that pains a leader more than anything else is to know that the very people they are trying to help are the very people working against them. Lord, help me to teach this like you get you got here are listen to this. They're in bondage. The walls are torn down. They're in captivity. They have no hope. They're destitute and desolate. Here comes Nehemiah. And guess what they do? Not all of them, because the families are rallying together, but there will always be this small contingency of people who will question everything you do. Why you do that? Well, I don't understand why you doing it. Why you got us out here like this? I don't understand. I don't really see. Now they see, listen to me, they see that the walls are being rebuilt. Then they had a problem because there was a lot of rubble. They needed to figure out how to do that. The enemies were coming. But the most heart aching moment of any leader's life is to realize that the very people in the camp you trying to move, to rescue, to rebuild, to restore, are some of the main ones who talk about you like a dog. And this is what they're doing to Nehemiah right now. They're talking about him. He's got opposition from the outside. Now he's got opposition on the inside. Which one you think hurts worse? Which opposition do you think hurts Nehemiah more than anything else? I want you to look at this. It was Nehemiah's faith. It was Nehemiah's faith that moved the heart of Artaxerxes. It was Nehemiah's faith that touched Artaxerxes to give permission for him to go through the Persian Empire to get to where he needed to be. It was Nehemiah's faith that caused Artaxerxes to give the letters that were necessary in order for the timber to be cut down so the walls could be rebuilt. It was Nehemiah. It was not their faith because they was too busy complaining. It was not their faith because they were too busy moaning. It was not their faith. It was Nehemiah's faith that now is bringing them victory. And what do they want to do? You got to read it. It's in there. Chapters 2 to 4, you'll see it in there. They begin to just criticize. They begin to talk about him. They begin to do all kind of things. And then the next threat that shows up is we just gonna kill you. I wish I had some of that. We just gonna kill you. So here's my question. Do you have a strategy to win? Do you have a strategy, a strategy? Do you have a strategy to be successful? Now listen to what I'm saying, because I really wish you'd get the strategies out of the church and get the strategies into the community. I wish you would get the strategies into your neighborhood. I wish you would get the strategies into the homeless and the destitute. Do you hear what I'm saying? There's a strategy that is being implemented. But while the implementation of the strategy is taking place, you also have to have the wherewithal and the wisdom to move people in another direction when the unexpected shows up. Now, here you got to understand. When you're doing what God has called you to do, when you are doing and people are rallied behind and they're doing all the things that need to be done. Are you here? I want to make sure you're hearing me clearly. The enemy will come from a direction that you didn't expect. So here's what they're going to do. They are coming after the workers. Now you got to remember that many of them are not warriors. Many of them don't know anything about strategic planning or anything else like that. They're coming after the workers. And here's the funny thing about the enemy, because you always got to remember what the enemy does. It always projects what it's going to do before it does it. And so in the midst of their projecting, in the midst of their talking trash, in the midst of them trying to use scare tactics, because that's basically what the enemy does first. You have to remember, if the enemy can get you scared, you will no longer strategically be prepared for the unexpected. Fear is crippling. Fear is psychologically damaging. Fear is spiritually inepting. What did I just say? Fear can make you so afraid that you'll even fear the things you've heard that created the fear. What am I talking about? You can hear people say stuff and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, It creates paranoia. It creates a level of unsuredness that will always try to get you to fail. But Nehemiah has so much wisdom because he understands his job. Can I tell y'all? Can I tell y'all what Nehemiah did? Can I tell you? Y'all not hearing me? Are y'all hearing me? Can I tell you what Nehemiah did? Can I share with you what Nehemiah did? Nehemiah said, "Here's what we're going to do. We've been working at a feverish pitch because I only have so much time to be away from the palace." Because that's another powerful point that I'm going to deal with later on sometime. Because in the midst of what he did, he still had an obligation to Artaxerxes to go back to where he came from. How many of you would have tried to escape? Good evening, Walina. How many of you would have tried to get away? How many of you would have turned around and said, "Oh, shoot, I'm out of here"? So Nehemiah understands something. Let me talk about this. Guess what he does? Here's what he does. Here's what he does. And it's mind blowing what he does. Even though these people don't know how to fight, they look like they do. You cannot rebuild without warriors. You cannot rebuild if you don't have people who are willing to fight. You cannot rebuild until you have people who are willing to stand on the wall with a spear in their hand and say, "I dare you to come up here." This is what Nehemiah did. He says, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to slow down the progress, but we're going to fortify our efforts. We're going to slow down the progress, but we're going to we're going to slow down the progress, but we're going to fortify our efforts." How are we going to do that? We're going to create shifts. One shift will work on the wall while the others on that shift are right there with a spear in plain sight so the enemy can see you. You got to get this. You got to get this. You got to get this. Because sometimes you need to let the enemy see you. And when he sees you, he'll know you're not afraid of him. And so when the next shift would come, you'd have one person with the spear and the other people working. And they stood up on the wall. They wanted the enemies to make sure they saw them. And they were basically letting it be known that I am not afraid of you. I may have some trepidation. I may have some skepticism. I may have some things that are going on the inside of me, but I'm standing on that wall with that spear and I'm looking right at you like, "Go ahead. I dare you. You feeling froggy? Go ahead and jump because I got something for you when you do." Sometimes, Lord have mercy, sometimes you really ain't got to fight, but you look like you ready to. Y'all can't handle that. These people with the spears and the weapons in their hand were standing up strong and tall, and they're looking around from place to place to see now what you're going to do. I heard you was talking stuff, but I'm standing right here. And the workers are now fortified again because they recognize they don't have to fight and work because they've got people standing there to fight for them while they do the work. You got to have warriors. Anything that you want to do of God, here you go. You need prayer warriors. You need people who will stand on the wall of whatever is trying to be built and look the enemy dead in the face and say, "I dare you to cross this line. I dare you to come over here because my God is an awesome God and God is on our side." You got to have some people who are willing to go into not the you ain't got to go into the enemy's camp. You tell the enemy, "You bad enough, you come on over here because I got something for you." You got to have some people who ain't scared to stand on their faith and believe that God will do what he says he's going to do. You got to have some people who are willing to stand for what God is doing instead of running and making the enemy fortified and feel stronger than they've ever been before. And guess what happened? Even though the process slowed down, it became just as productive because now the workers don't have to look around and wonder, is anybody going to get me? Is anybody going to sneak me? Because it's hard to do work when you're wondering whether the enemy is approaching and sneaking upon you. Did y'all get that? I want to know, did you get that? I want to know, did you get that? I want you to know. And so maybe the reason that we're not winning is because we haven't planned to win. Maybe the reason we're not more powerful in ministry could be because we're scared. Maybe the reason why we cannot accomplish what we need to is because you're listening to antagonistic people. Maybe the reason we're not able to accomplish and to move forward could be because we're showing people that we're afraid. Listen, I've learned this a long time ago. No weapon formed can prosper. But if I know the weapon belongs to me, I don't have to acknowledge your existence. I know you're there. I don't have to pay you any attention. I will completely and totally go right on about my business. And sometimes, why don't you get this straight? Why? No, I don't need to, because you know what I've learned? You know what I've learned, my sisters and brothers? You know what I've learned, my brothers and sisters? When am I going to let the Lord fight the battle? And I learn how to stay out of the way. When am I going to learn that if God is on my side, I don't have to worry about anything else? When am I going to learn that if I have been commissioned by God, I need to be ready for opposition? When am I going to learn that faith and fear cannot occupy the same space at the same time? If God has not given us the spirit of fear, why are we operating in it? And I forgot, Jeanette, thank you so much for letting us know what the conditions and things were going on. I was so busy trying to get that straightened out. I forgot to acknowledge that you let us know that our presentation is doing best that it can. Too many of us are living a defeated psychosis or a defeated psychological presupposition because we've allowed other people to scare us to death. They ain't never did nothing, but all they had to do was speak to us. All they had to do was say something, and we fall apart, we crumble. Just like they thought the walls would crumble when a fox's tail would touch it. In your situation, that's right, Thea, the fight is fixed. When you going to recognize that? When are you going to come to grips with the point that you are more than a conqueror? When are you going to do it? And the first time we have any opposition, the first time we go through any situation, the Lord is probably like, really? Let me give you one more little thing and then I got to go. Do you really know who's on your side? Winnie? Kathy? Giovanni, do you really know? Lady Harrison? Minister Sarah, Minister Faye, do you, Elder Mansell's plural, do you really know who is on your side? Do you really, Denise, do you really know? Jemison, do you really, Rhonda, do you really know who is on your side? The God not of the universe, but the God who created the universe is on your side. The God who sustains and maintains every single ecosystem is on your side. The God who stepped out into nothing and said, let there be, is on your side. What enemy will trump the God that we serve? You remember that, didn't you, Cecile? He'll fight my battles. The song says, it may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm actually surrounded by you. Remember when the prophet told him to go out and leave? He said, wait, there's a whole lot of folk around here getting ready to take us out. And he said, Lord, open his eyes. And when he opened his eyes, he saw chariots of fire that had surrounded the enemy. The God of the universe, But God, who created you and has sustained you every second of your existence, is on your side. Well, if God is on your side, why are you afraid of something less than God? Did y'all catch what I said? Did you, Lady Harrison, did you catch it? Minister Faye, did you catch it? Valerie, 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 Valerie. Did you hear what I said to your dad? Did you hear what I said? I'm speaking life right now. I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. Winnie, I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. Kathy, Jemison, Sylvia Scott, I'm speaking life. I'm speaking it. I'm Giovanni, I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. You have sat back and listened to death more than you have life. And just because disillusionment comes or discouragement comes or something like that, you throw in the towel. Raymond Vernice, I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. He says, I have come that you, Herma, might have life and have it more abundantly. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. There will not be a snapshot tomorrow, and I'm gonna put that out there so everybody will know it. I've got some running around to do with Lady Harrison. I need to make sure that she is okay and well taken care of. Listen, listen, y'all. Listen, listen. Love you with the love of Jesus, who is the Christ. I'm praying for you that God's power and presence will rest upon you in an unbelievable manner. I am praying that God will arrest the spirit of fear. I'm praying that God will show you more than wanting to be seen in somebody's sanctuary. I'm praying that you will see that you were made and created for more than what you even give yourself credit for. God is looking for y'all to touch. Goalie, did you catch it? I want to make sure. Cheryl, I want to make sure. Minister Sarah, I want to make sure. I want to make sure. So when this chat is over, you need to tell yourself, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. When these moments are over, you need to tell yourself, I'm the head and not the tail, because God, Jehovah, is on my, Elohim is on my side. I'm not going to let anything separate me from the love of God through Christ Jesus. I'm not going to do it. I've come too far and I'm too old to be clowning because now I plan on winning. Can you do one more thing for me and then I'm going to let you go? Put in the chat, if you don't mind, I will win. Because somebody needs to see it and you need to see yourself. See, people don't understand it from a psychological point of view. If you see something that comes from you, you will believe what just came out of you. I will win. Love you one and all. We pray that you have a very restful evening and that God will give you peace and you'll be ready for a powerful day tomorrow because the Lord is on your side. I forgot to do this. Let me do this real quick. You need to know who you are. You need to know whose you are. You need to know who is on your side. You need to know who is against you. And you need to trust God like you've never trusted anyone or anything else in life. He's done too much for us to continue to live foolishly and beneath our privilege. He's done too much. He's been too much. He's accomplished too much in our lives for us to sit back and snivel and cry and fall apart at every little. You know, it's funny. Every road has bumps. Every road has cracks and crevices. Every road has potholes. And what you fail to understand is the God that you serve is able to protect you even from the worst case scenario. Life is not a bed of roses. Life does not come easy. It comes the way it comes. I'm asking all of you to pray for Saturday. We are believing and trusting God for unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable encounters that are going to take place. I need you to do that because the enemy got busy here for a minute. I expected it, but I also know greater is he that is in us than he that's in the world. I've kept y'all too long. Listen, y'all have a fantastic evening tonight. Don't forget, no snapshot tomorrow, but there will be one Friday. May God bless you. May he keep you, is our prayer.